So, oh, hi. Okay, wait, I consider that. I don't know if he's here. No, yeah, if you all want to be together, that's fine. But I can also sit in your middle. I don't mind. Uh, okay. Uh, well, thank you for this uh, wonderful and interesting and very entertaining film or soap opera or whatever you want to call it. And I will just probably hand the microphone over to Ina, and she can explain the production process. And I think then we'll pretty soon open the discussion for questions from the audience.
Thank you very much. Thanks for watching this. And I just give you a few background informations, and then we can maybe talk. And Mama Daisy probably will also want to say a lot. This film is based on true stories, as you have read in the beginning. So the village I've been working with and in for more than 25 years had been destroyed in a tribal warfare in 2006, 6. And it was a very tragic experience for all of us. And we've gone together through a lot of bad times, also a lot of good times. But this was a breaking point because the village was destroyed and had to be rebuilt like 6 years later. So it took a couple of years until everybody went back. A lot of people had been killed in this warfare. And this was probably the main trigger to actually come up with the idea of making a film about peace. I mean, it's not the only topic, obviously. There's many more topics inside, but the people in the community had asked me to tell the story of this because this warfare should stop. And we have a big problem with violence in Papua New Guinea and trying to work against it in some ways. And we saw that people there, I mean, I've been working there for a long time and did a lot of filming there as well. And we always noticed that the visual approach is incredibly successful. People like watching films, and you might even have a greater influence on people by actually making an entertaining kind of story people can identify with everywhere in Papua New Guinea and trying to bring messages across. So actually the community said they want to be a role model. They want to change this tribal warfare. And it's not only about tribal warfare. As you could see, it's about domestic violence. It's about adultery. It's about, well, there's so many stories that will be coming in the next season, I hope. So this is a pilot film. Also, I would like to say that there is no professional acting involved. All the people acted themselves, more or less. We changed names, we adjusted stories because we didn't want to put anyone out in public, of course. But it's all people from the community who acted themselves. And I think they did an incredible job. I mean, forget about Johnny Depp. They are actually really professional, yeah. And the script was developed, it was a highly collaborative approach. So the idea was not my idea. Actually, we were sitting together at one point and we had this, like, I have about 110 hours of footage from this particular community that I collected over this period of 25 years. And we were always thinking, what can we do with this footage? Because I didn't film it with having a big film in mind. I always filmed research related because I'm an anthropologist. So I have different, bits and pieces, but nothing that would turn it into a coherent narrative and film. And then we thought, well, we just create this own film of ours and merge the ethnographic footage inside. And it's actually great because in flashbacks, we can show the real people, the actors, as real children. I mean, we can really put in things from their past. A lot of stuff you have seen here is actually from the footage as well. And so we came up with this idea to create a telenovela because there is nothing like it in Papua New Guinea yet. People watch Philippine telenovelas and from Nigeria with great interest and enthusiasm, but there's no PNG telenovela. And we thought we were going to do the first grassroots telenovela ever. And since 80% of the population in PNG are living in villages and facing similar problems and issues, it's actually something people can identify with. And we have just launched it. We're just back from Papua New Guinea like 2 days ago. And we have launched it there, and people loved it. And it's going to be spread all over the country. I mean, that's definitely the case. And so this was to us a great success because our target audience is Papua New Guinea. To be honest, this is we didn't do it for a Western audience. It's great that you can be here and show it, but you know, it's actually meant for people there.
So it's actually gonna be broadcast, but has been broadcast.
We have launched it like 2 weeks ago, last week, in the village first, of course, in the community, and that was incredible. The people were so happy. And we have a lot of storylines already coming up now for the first season. By the way, we're looking for funding if anybody has an idea. That's just, but yeah, so we've launched it in the village, and then we launched it in the provincial capital in Goroka at the university up there, and it was also a great success. So I think we're going to continue with this work. And before I talk too much, I think I might hand over the phone to Mama Daisy because she might have some things to add.
Thank you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for watching our picture here. I just want to tell you that you see all these pictures here. It's, what will I say? It's a real story in our life. That's the story it started. It's a real story, what happened to our life. And we are acting it, but we didn't complete it. It's just, you know, start the beginning of it. And we were planning that we want to see that the picture will still continue like series. Huh? We're trying to do all this, and we are doing it. And you will see the villages. Before that, we have good houses, good things, but then it's destroyed by tribal fighting. And it started in our own village, so it's destroyed all our things. And after we came back, we start with kunai and everything, and we are just to starting it little by little. And it's a life story. You see it. We act it. So you will see that we are looking for fund to do another. People interested in watching, but then we told them that if you want another, then we will give you another second picture. So we are, it's not just acting for without no story, but it's a life story. So thank you for your hearing, and we'll come to our question time if you have other question, but I will give it to our producer. She's been so good to us. She was at the back. And I just want to say thank you also in front of you. And I will give it to Verena Thomas.
Thank you, Mama Daisy. I think I'll keep it short because you might have some questions. But when I saw what Gina was doing, I thought it was just so great, the stories that were there, and how can we put them into a kind of, say, a cinematic kind of soap opera style film. I'm interested in creative processes and what the creative processes in itself do. So the scripting together, the working together, and how that in itself creates dialogue and discussion. And I've worked with the University of Goroka, which is about 15 minutes from the community for a long time. And it's also about building an industry. So having the people to make those productions, to tell the stories, and then supporting that industry. That's also kind of one of my goals with this. And so I'd love to see it, of course, continue. And then we will take it to communities to facilitate dialogues. So to show the film and say, what do you think? And we showed it, when we showed it in Goroka, people were already coming up and saying, yes, this has happened to my community. And so it generates discussions. So thank you to our stars for putting out these stories. And you're kind of acting in a dual role. Yes, you're actors, but you've also experienced this. So that's very brave of everyone. So thank you everyone for, for the idea and then for the bravery as well.
So are there any questions from the audience? Oh, there are. Okay, let's start here with you.
Yeah?
No, in the back. He was first.
So thank you very much for showing this wonderful film. In the past couple of days, we have seen lots and lots of documentaries, and now seeing a soap opera kind of lifted the mood, even though the topic itself, as you have described, is very emotional, and I'm very fascinated by your film. So firstly, thank you very much for showing. Thank you very much for coming. My question would be related to the process of writing the script. I would like to know how you worked on it and how you used your personal emotional backgrounds, your stories that you've had, and wrote it. I recall that you said in the beginning that there were like 900 directors. If you could, if you could elaborate that, I'm just fascinated. So thank you very much.
Yeah, it was an incredible process. So before we actually started writing the script, we discussed the idea in the community with everybody. As you've seen, the usual way it's done in PNG in the Highlands is like, it's a very basic democratic process. So everybody gathers and then we discuss. And this can take very, very long. So we gathered the ideas of people, we gathered like, you know, what they considered important, and everybody was totally up for it. I was totally surprised because I have been doing research for so long there. We did language documentation, all kinds of things, and people were helpful and happy that it was done. But with this film, the village changed. Suddenly, everybody cleaned up the village. Suddenly, houses were built, toilets were built, a house for catering was built. I mean, everybody was involved. So this was something in the process that was also of greatest importance because we have 5 clans in the village. And we had to make sure that each clan participates equally in this film process in one way or the other. So not everybody acted, but you know, somebody would be taking care of the wardrobe, somebody else would get the firewood, somebody else would supply the water, etc., etc. So we had to. This was really an administrative, very challenging task. We had to do that upfront so that everybody would be involved, all of the clans. And then the script writing process was fun and challenge too, because most of the community members are still illiterate. So we discussed things. We did not script dialogues. We just decided on the scenes and then people improvised. And because they were like basically playing their own stories, acting their own stories, they knew how to do it so incredibly well. So none of the dialogues was scripted. We just said like, okay, now we have this situation of him flirting with the other woman while his wife is on the phone, right? By the way, I learned a lot of Bina flirting in this way because I never knew how Bina people flirt before, but that you make, you know, you draw the air of the other one towards you. You might have noticed this gesture, or you tap the leg or something. Anyway, so we just gave the keywords about the scenes and then people would act. But before, to get the structure of the film and like this rough script, we sat at my grass house. I have a nice grass house there. And you remember that we had the whole wall like stuck with little papers where we had, you know, we noted down the different scenes and then people would float by and we'd discuss it and then rearrange the stories. And then everybody had an opinion, you know, like, no, and this has to go in and this has to be changed. And so we all had to agree. And it wasn't always 900 people, of course, but it was like we were sitting there and there would be like 10 people and then 5 would go and then 5 others would come. And it was like a floating, very organic kind of process. And yeah, so we did it really together. Yeah, took a long time.
Did you do multiple takes of scenes? Okay, okay, Peter. And I think then we had, yes?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Right. Thank you very much for this. I loved it. I've been working in neighboring Solomon Islands with communities for many years, since the 1990s. So I have a comment, or rather a request, and then I have a question. The request is, please don't limit it to Papua New Guinea. Please show this in Solomon Islands as well, possibly in Vanuatu, possibly in Fiji. I think they need it just as much as you do, not because there's quite as much tribal warfare, but there is warfare. And I think it can serve a much wider peacekeeping idea, which I treasure. The question is that why there are quite a few documentary films, even ethnographic films, about tribal warfare in Papua New Guinea, especially in the highlands. Why did you consider fiction, as soap opera is? It's not a critical question. I really think it's a good idea. I haven't seen any good fiction coming out of Papua, or interesting fiction coming out of Papua New Guinea since Tin Piss Run, which I'm sure that you know. But does fiction perhaps lend itself more to discussing such gruesome things as warfare?
Yeah, I think, fiction allows us the opportunity to really create that narrative, and working across different social issues, you can really kind of design the stories and structure them for emotional impact, and also build on the characters. So we really strategically built the character, Mama Daisy, in real life, woman of peace building and woman leader. But then how do we create it so we involve other women as well? So these are all the discussions. So the stories from the community, but also then strategically integrated. But there's another thing. I think, I've worked on a lot of documentaries as well, and you can still create an emotional narrative with it, but the response from the audience to fiction, and the boo-boos, the 3 old mothers that are commenting, those kinds of scenes, you can really create that kind of edutainment. And I think there needs to be more of it. It's more costly and more time consuming, and it needs a more skilled crew. And that's a challenge. And that's why it's so difficult to keep them producing, because you need a much stronger industry. But I think you can really design for impact.
I totally agree, and it would just maybe add that my feeling is that it's just more watched as well by Papua New Guineans or Pacific Islanders. So you have a lot of documentaries going around, and they may be watched, but not so with such great enthusiasm. I mean, the Western audience is more for the documentaries. The Papua New Guineans, they love this, they just, they've been watching all these Filipino soaps with enthusiasm, and this is just kicking off much more because they can adapt.
That would also be a good means to disseminate your great work. And obviously you want to do it with community programs, with churches and so on. So yeah, mainly that's a comment. I did have a question, but it's just maybe I can think of it later. Thanks.
Thank you for your response for our picture. What we were acting now in here, it's happening in all Eastern Highlands and also in Papua New Guinea. Sometimes you will see they abuse the children and their daughters especially. Their father, they abuse them also. So we are doing this to help people to come to know what they are doing is not right. And we want them to learn from the picture. We can't tell them, but we just put it out in the picture so that when they see the film, they will change their attitude, and we will also become a good country also. So we are doing it just for all of us in our country, and also in nearby villages and people in Papua New Guinea. So that's what we do.
Yeah, thank you, Mama Daisy. I just wanted to ask whether in the film the erstwhile enemies of that fight are cooperating, or are you only cooperating with the ones that were evicted from their home ground? That was one of my questions. Thanks.
In there, some other people who we fought there with them, they are not in there, but all our children, only all of us, whoever in other side of the people, the fighters. That's why only those children act on it, but other people, they are not in the film, only us.
Yeah, so the real enemies are not involved in this. This would not have been possible. We also changed the names. So this is not the real name of the community. I mean, everybody knows, of course, where it is, but it's we had to change the names also of the enemies because this could also cause serious problems if we put people out in public, right? We also changed the cause of the conflict slightly and so forth. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. Also share some of the positive things that have been mentioned by the others. And I just want to stress the fact how it is participatory, the way you do it, and also the community validation that you have made, and also the fact that they are here today when you screen it for the audience, so they are here also to answer questions that it's not just the producer who answer, but the community. So my question or just comments. So on the pictures we see the conflict, and I think of course it is difficult to represent everything about tribal conflict, which is multi-layered at different level. But we just see, I think it's very simplistic that they just run into the garden and they destroy, and that is just the cause of tribal conflict in the community. Will be very simplistic. So maybe it's better to add something to that, maybe to have a brief understanding of what are the main causes of the tribal conflict there. In the last part of the picture, Dede was saying that there will be a final event where the other community will be called. So I think it would be also a good idea if you could include something of that final event, what happened, did it really work? So it would be good. My last question goes to Mama Ded. So in the picture, you've been talking about this peace building workshop you have attended last week, this workshop. So what was it exactly? Who did that workshop? Who gave that workshop? So could you briefly tell me about that? Thank you.
Okay, we were talking about peace in the community. You can see that all our boys and some of them, they want to go and fight and all this again. If they come and destroy our property and everything, people they've been destroying. That's why they follow that and they do everything. Whatever happened, you see, it's happening in the community, and it's been happening. But our people, we always say that don't go and repay back. So stop and just don't go and do anything. So that's why you will see that our leaders, we always sit down and talk and say, if they do anything, just stop fighting and just forgive them and let them do in it. But we've been doing that and we lost a lot of properties, everything. Even now we are there, they always come and destroy our property, but we don't repay back. We always just forgive them and let them go. We want a peace. Okay. And another workshop that I went through is that we always talk about peace. There is some organization there. They teach us how to, make a peace in the community and all these things. And I go island and I came back and I keep on. You can see me. I am standing there in community and talking about peace. I don't want them to fight anymore. So I use that training that I went through. I stand with my brothers and all this in the community, and I'm still fighting and talk about peace. Yeah, so the Eastern Highlands Family Voice, we call, that's a local NGO. So, and there is another one, Cafe Women's Association, and these two always talk about peace in community. So I went through workshop with all those people.
Oh, hi. I actually have two questions for David. First, how did it feel to be the antagonist in the film? And the second question, if he participated in like the conflict, and if he can share a little bit of these stories with us. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Lo good question. Mile bekilo talk pichina all by one me. Yeah. Me been go through lo desla trouble pinis. Na mi go pass na militim desla. Na meluke emino gutla. That's all me act team. Me act team. So that online me must walk him because me belat. Something em come pass pinis na mi plalusim o keta properties. O keta property mi plalusim. Antap lo desla ya, oli kam now na all walk him desla now mi belat na mi to okay. Me come up good man pinis na now mi must come up belat man na mi must repay him back. One time desla tintin mi act him desla something. Thank you.
Yeah, so he said he was involved in this tribal fight personally. I mean, he was also fighting. And he saw that it was no good because a lot of people got killed and the whole village destroyed. And he kind of changed his ways of thinking and decided that he would actually try to become something like a peace mediator, which he is in the village now. He's one of the leading men in Napamogona who actually really promote peace. And also, by the way, gender equality, but that's just something I add. And then he was thinking, you talk about some, he was thinking that changing his mind and his view on tribal fights, he was thinking in this picture, he wants to act the evil one. He wants to be the evil one, to the fighter, to actually show what it is like, because he was like that, you know? I mean, he's a fighter.
One more question. Has to be the we're a little bit over time, but
Thank you. So I think I can add, at least from what I felt here, that people didn't only love the film when you showed it last week, but also here. So thank you very much for coming and showing it to us. And I also appreciated the way of peace building through film, the way you chose to construct it and play it and act it. But there was another aspect, and here comes my question. What happened to the idea of selling the fruit to the company and get a better price? Did that work out?
You will see that in the first season. I mean, this film is a pilot film, so we really have actually deliberately left things open. Yeah, so we are here now to develop the script. We have already, actually, more or less, we have the first season in our minds. We're just looking for funding now here and in Berlin and everywhere, and then we will go and shoot it next year, and then you will all know how it's going to be.
I just want to say, because the picture that we show twice, and you are the third person to see. It's a new one, so we didn't put it out yet in our country, MTV, like you said. We didn't put it out yet. Now we are here in Germany, so finish from here, then we go and we do other things, like put it out in our country.
well, thank you very much for sharing your film, for coming here, for discussing with us. Thank you. And thanks for... Wait a second, please.
Also, we have something out there to display, so if you want to come and look at it, go and look at it and we negotiate the price.